A lot of the ones that I saw in certain countries, Dominican Republic being one of them, certain parts of Brazil, etc. I saw a lot of interest in terms of the teachers themselves. They were so committed to be able to do or try to do a good job. And getting those kids that you're talking about, trying to get them to school, some countries would pay them to get there. But the teachers that I saw in terms of the teacher training institutes, they needed to be revamped because they are really outdated and they have to participate more. In places like Korea, where I lived 3 years, I can tell you that teachers and kids in Korean classrooms were completely, they would not say a word at all about how they felt about the class or had any questions, because this is more like a Mandarin style type of system and so forth. But it is amazing what you see in those countries and in classrooms as a whole.
Worldwide, we're in dire straits. And that's rich countries as well as poor countries. Inequality is rampant, and poverty is widespread. And that's obviously very true in poor countries, but it's equally true in wealthy countries. Statistics on hunger in this country, frightening. I just saw one on developing countries that was frightening. It said 1 in 3 children who reach primary school age is suffering from brain development through malnutrition. That's 1 in 3. If I could wave my wand, I would have an intense focus globally on those who are at the margins. And in this country, it means starting from birth, really giving people education, healthcare, hope for the future, mentoring. There's been a couple of studies at least that have, all come to the same conclusion. If kids have an adult that mentors them over the long haul, they've got a much better chance of succeeding. And we need to build that into our school system. We can't expect charity to take care of this. We've got so many schools in poor shape physically, and I think they cut the school construction money from stimulus money. We have schools in awful shape. It's embarrassing that kids have to go there. So there's just lots that can be done if we're willing to put in the resources. And then, we're looking for cheap fixes. That's what my paper's about. We're not really doing anything substantial. Well, let's just send them to private schools. Well, you're not willing to pay for them to go to a good private school. And you're not willing to do it for everybody. It's just waving hands and magic wands. Putting the time, effort, and resources that are needed to turn this unfair system around. And I don't think it's a question of research. For the most part, we have good ideas as to what will work. You want to evaluate programs as you implement them. We don't need a lot of pilot projects to do this. National project. Please.
Let me just ask you a question. I've been listening very intently because some of the things that you say are somewhat provocative and, you know, good stuff to talk about on other days and argue about. But I'm kind of curious though, where has people like, or school system like, say, Prince George's, who has just set up a big pay for performance program, what have they missed? I mean, your thesis is that not that it's a waste of money, but it's not going to produce the outcomes, or they can't draw conclusions from the outcomes the way they think they can, simply because they're paying teachers or principals to do something. But why would they enter into a program like that without some reasonable expectation that this confidence incentive plan is linked somehow, or can help produce better teacher performance and action, and consequently better student achievement? Where's the group that supports your position? I guess I keep seeing people setting up plans like this. Are they missing the research, or I mean, help me square all this in my head somehow. You're telling me that's not what should be going on. We shouldn't be doing that and drawing the conclusions that we're drawing. But at the same time, I see proliferation of these programs and so forth. I mean, who's it's not right or wrong, but who's why are you not talking to each other? I mean, who's missing the point?
No, that's a great question, and unclear one. I mean, I was talking about these broad sweeps of beliefs, ideologies, and we're in this broad neoliberal sweep, this broad conservative view that wants to apply business logic to the public sector, and that thinks it's a good idea. I mean, this idea has been, they were pushing this idea in the 90s. They push it in waves. It was the 60s, it was 20s, 1860s, and it's a frustration. A lot of this is born of the frustration that the achievement gap doesn't seem to be disappearing, and there's a superficial logic to this, and it's fits within an ideological belief structure about private sector, the public sector, and what's efficient. So there's a conglomeration of forces, and the unions have been backing off. Okay? The unions which really resisted in the 90s, in the 2000s, the AFT has backed off a lot, and even the NEA is not as adamant as it was, willing to consider issues. And again, performance pay doesn't have to be test scores. It can be teachers' performance like they're in high need areas. So we pay them because they perform in math or science or English or something. You do need evaluation, right? There's no question that you need evaluation systems. They've always been evaluation systems. Very often, it's just the principal making their own judgments. But there've been, evaluation rubrics, sold to school districts too. So there's a logic that's in there, and then there's there's a false scientism. We have 40 or 50 years of science trying to be a part of public policy. Of science, this is the policy sciences, policy analysis area. You have just more and more, from a liberal perspective and from a neoliberal perspective, the idea that we can use scientific methods and scientific approaches and